So here we are at Bangor Forest Garden. This is the cabin at the rear of the garden. These are some of the university buildings at the university's Horticultural and Agroforestry Research Centre. So we'll go through to the rear of the garden now. Here we've got an oak copse at the end there, sea buckthorn. At that end we've got a salmonberry. Here we've got a bamboo. It doesn't spread, that particular one. An Elaeagnus, Evinjay. These bamboo here, they spread, and we harvest bamboo shoots and bamboo canes like we're using for that raised vegetable bed to grow beans up. So going through here to the entrance of the garden. Which is where most people will come in. There's a courtyard over there to park, and you walk down here and come in. Yeah, so from this angle, we've got a monkey puzzle tree there, and underneath that, ground covering raspberry. It's Rubus tricolor. Next to that, a juniper bush, and in between those, a flowering myrtle. Beyond this, wood, what do you call it, wood cuttings somebody's kindly left for us. There's a wild cherry, we can use for rootstocks, a rootstock cherry. Beyond that, a pineapple guava. On the ground, a different type of Rubus Betty Ashburner. Around this house we've got a rose and a buddleia. Next to that, Viminanus willow, biofuel willow. Next to that, a row of elder currant trees, elder trees. And at the far end there, beyond that, there's a small leaf lime, not come into leaf yet. And this is a propagation area where we grow plants and trees to supply ourselves, local community, and anybody that wants to buy or be supplied with plants from the BFG, forest garden plants. Here's a row of Japanese wineberries, very similar to raspberries, growing sort of clumps like grapes. Nanking cherry here, and a golden currant. And just over there, thornless loganberry, and cherry plum, and there's a bamboo, and a couple of raised beds here, vegetable beds. So this is a really compact little area where I'm, at this top of the garden here where I'm standing, where there's a wide variety of different types of plants and trees growing in profusion, three-dimensionally and on the ground. You can see that there's more room to be putting raised beds for vegetables, for annuals around here, going in amongst all the perennial food, and in all it's all growing in three dimensions. So if I quickly go around it, we've got sea buckthorn at the end, a salmonberry here. Next to the sea buckthorn there are two plum trees, two pear trees, Rosa rugosa roses, which you get the rosehip syrup from, Chinese angelica, another ground covering raspberry, a low covering that one now, and that's Rubus nepalensis. An apple tree here. It's Apple Belder Boskub. Pineapple guava, two dwarf apple trees, two golden gauge plums, that wild cherry, and a pear behind it, and more ground covering raspberry there, and comfrey covering the ground here. These gauges are fantastic size girth there compared to the ones that I've got the ones that were planted at the same time further down in the garden, and that's because they're growing in soil which is populated by comfrey, Booking 14 comfrey, and it's a fantastic soil conditioner. It's said to be a dynamic accumulator where the root goes down deep and brings up all the nutrients from deep down below in the soil to the surface, and it really conditions the soil beautifully, really light. So I'm going to try experimenting growing potatoes with comfrey this year, see how they get on. So you see, in this area at the top of the garden here, it's just fantastic, fantastic little garden. Surprising what you can do in such a small area. Going down here past the nursery area, we've got another vegetable raised bed, but it's walled with railway sleepers, so it's not so good for the soil, having substances, fossil fuel type substances in it that can leach into the soil, so you're not advised to use it for vegetables. And another Eleagnus there, a dusterberry and an apple behind it. The Eleagnus is the earliest fruiting tree in the bush or tree and shrub in the country, and you get a fruit from it, and inside the fruit there's a seed, and inside that there's a nut you can eat. Row of elder trees here, and this whole area here is covered with lemon balm, and at the moment it's populated with nettles, being spring, so the lemon balm's just coming through. Here's a beautiful flowering cherry, sweet cherry. There's our yurt, which we use for whenever we need shelter, and also for anything that's educational or anything that's going on here. Welsh plum over there, hazel, 2 sweet chestnut trees, a pond with 5 different edible plants within the pond. Around the pond we've got Guelder rose, Amaranthia, Juneberry, and a damson. Honeysuckle covering that bench over there, like a roof. Here we've got the 2 sweet chestnuts, as I said, and also a japonica here. But really, we've yet to name that. We're not sort of a bit of question mark of what that is. Another josterberry here. A Victoria plum there. A Diane de Cumis pear there. Ulin's golden gauge there, and you can see compared to the gauges that are planted in the comfrey, they're a hell of a lot further on because the soil's so much richer. So we're with these that we're putting with this year, we're making sure that we put lots of mulch, fertilising mulch around the bases of these trees to get them coming on. There's a berberis, which the bees are really liking those flowers. Berberis, all the berberis produce they're all evergreen, they all produce a fruit, an edible fruit. Herb spiral. Two more fruits, a plum gauge and a pear. 4 Amaranthia trees from America, Juneberry, serviceberry trees, Canadensis and ballerina. This is a damson. Here we've got a mulberry and another cherry. And back here we've got a quince and a conference pear, which we've grafted onto that rootstock. From here you can see gooseberries, blackcurrants, a bay tree, bays you'd use in soups and stews, walnut, medlar, and the path here is lined with hazelnuts. Here's a gooseberry, and one of these damsons has set itself here. Not planted, it's just found its way from that damson over there. Here's our fire pit, and we've got a sumac, a stag's horn sumac at the back by the bench there, planted by one of our members to commemorate his mother, who used to come here. A little herb tea tire beds. Might need a fire pit so we can have pick herbs for putting in our teas when we're having when we're socialising around the fire. Here's another pear that's been grafted onto a pear rootstock. So hazels here. This is a Laxton Fortune apple, which is quite an early fruiting apple, July, August fruits. And this is a branch that came away from this apple tree, and one of our members planted it in the ground and it took, so that's grown as well. But because that's on a rootstock, that governs the size of the tree. But this one might turn out to be quite a large tree because it hasn't got the rootstock to regulate the size. Here's another pear we've grafted into a rootstock. And then we've got a digger pine there, so hopefully that'll grow large and we'll get lots of pine nuts. A mahonia and behind that, and more currants and gooseberries. Kent cob nuts, hazelnuts. They reckon in full production at 10 years old, or at 10 years or 12 years, they come into their full swing of producing nuts. They reckon you'll get 10 kilograms of nuts, 2,000 nuts roughly, each from each tree. Here's two opal plums, and this area is populated with a lot of yellow raspberries, taken from the top of the garden where they were overrunning everything. So we sort of got them out from the top and brought them down the bottom here where we got space underneath this Italian alder tree, which is about 14 years old. It's an amazing size. It's nearly come to the top of that ash tree in 14 years. It's probably bigger than that holly tree there, which is quite a fair sized holly tree. And yeah, we've taken the branches away from the bottom of it to allow this bit of the garden to have space. And those alder trees are really important because in the autumn they lose their leaves and they're full of nitrogen, and that disperses nitrogen through the ground for all the plants. It's one of the main fertilising agents within the soil for plant life, basically. This is what we think is a cherry plum. It came from the rootstock of the Russian olive over there, which is a northern olive that we've got. I'll just go and show you. So yeah, going back to the pond, here's a Russian olive. It's a northern growing olive, and it does go very well here, and we do get a lot of sorry, not olives, it's a northern growing almond, and we do get a lot of almonds here from it every year. It's grown on a rootstock, and go back to it because it's grown on a rootstock again to govern the size. But what it is, we don't know. Because here's one which is spread from there, and we did think it was a cherry plum, but it's more like a cherry than a plum. We think it's a cherry plum because it's typical colouring, you know, of red stalk and green leaves. So that's a bit of a mystery. Coming back to this corner of the garden, we've got a willow dome here, and beyond that our compost toilet, which is put together with the willow from the garden, weaved into hurdles. Double chamber toilet, so when one's chamber's full we transfer over to the other. This is a little area that we use for growing larger plants and trees and cuttings. Russian olive. Russian olive, I said Russian olive there, no, it's a Russian almond over there, but these are actually Russian olives here. One there and one there, and they definitely need something around their bases to try and get the soil to be in better heart, as they say, better condition. So coming up here we've got a lovely area of ramsons which come every year between March, middle of March and end of April. All parts of the wild garlic are edible. Use them in bolognese, use them in pizzas. If you've got a freezer, or you can dry them. And it could be quite a harvest, quite a crop. Here we've got an apple tree there, and here we've got a rootstock apple tree. You tell it's a rootstock because it's trying to root in the air. This is a dwarf tree, dwarf growing tree basically. Easy to root, and you just take a branch from it, shove it in the ground, and in the next spring you'll have your rootstock to grow your scions onto. Golden Delicious, Coxes, or any type of apple that you want to grow. You graft onto as a cutting. You graft onto the cutting of the apple onto this rootstock. And the rootstocks are there to govern the size of the trees, because if you just put the apple into the ground, if it was to root, then it would grow into a larger tree, and you might want a sort of a smaller one. So the good thing about these rootstocks is you can see how the roots actually try to grow in the air. They're so easy to get to root. If you take 10 branches of that and stick them in the ground, you'll end up with 10 fruiting trees the next year that you can graft onto. Irish strawberry tree. Since the Ice Age retreated 10,000 years ago, 11,000 years ago, this is one of the plants in amongst all the other plants that reached these islands, grew here, and it's actually originally from the Mediterranean. It's growing very well because it was smothered by a lot of brambles, which has kind of like suffocated it. It's the same with all with the forest gardening. That's the main work. Once you've got the ground cover established, so you don't get much grass coming through, you've got a little bit of siding and a little bit of sickling to do. But other than that, the main work in the forest garden is to stop the trees from encroaching onto each other, so they can all have their own space and they can all be productive. And it's very, very true, this strawberry tree. Since we started doing after this has started to fruit, and it gives you a marble-sized fruit in November. So in November it'll flower, and also in November the flowers from the previous November have produced their fruit and they're fully ripe just in November again. So at the same time as you're getting the flowers, you're getting the fruit from the previous year. And the fruit is kind of like a little bit small, marble size. It comes red, it comes sweet, and it has a dimpled skin, and it's gritty, and it's very similar to strawberries, which is why they call it a strawberry tree. In Spain, believe they make liqueurs out of it. This is a lovely shaded area, cool area in the garden. For it being a flat garden, it's a wonderful example not only of a forest garden, because it really does mimic Robert Hart's, but also all the different areas, like the bottom area there, it's quite shaded. This is very shaded and cool. The pond area and the top area, it's great. And so here, there's not a great deal growing, and what is growing is quite spindly. Some tree plants are good in the shade, like black currants and red currants and fruit bushes. So here we've got a Rosa rugosa. We've just found this pear because this area was like smothered with brambles, and the pear's coming into its own, so we'll not know what type of pear it is until it brings its fruit. A lovely damson here, which gives us, it's full of damsons every year. Currants, and these borders on the path are lined with Bocking 14 comfrey, and then Chinese angelica trees, where the new shoots are edible, and they're medicinal as well. They're absolutely beautiful looking tree, Japanese type, Chinese type tree. Also up here we've got ginkgo biloba, and in this area there's a lot of Jerusalem artichokes in the ground that come every year. We've also got, beyond this ground covering raspberry, we've also got an edible sedum, an edible salad plant. It's really, really good. Really, really tasty. Comes back year after year. Sedum telefium. The other thing too is, just at this time of year, so much nettles, so many nettles, it's fantastic. What a crop. just at the beginning of the year now. This is April. So all the foliage and the greenery and everything is just getting going in the last 2 weeks. And look at all these nettles that we've got. And the most, it's probably it's the most underrated plant in the country. So nutritious. 5% protein. Apparently it's the highest quality protein. High in calcium and very rich in minerals and vitamins. Dogwood, and we're back up to the top of the garden here with the sea buckthorn, which is reckoned to be it's a vitamin C tree. So you got oranges and apples, oranges and lemons in the Mediterranean. Well, in these northern countries we can grow naturally sea buckthorn, which absolutely fills up with tiny little berries. Like, it absolutely fills up with loads of berries, and they reckon to be have the most vitamin C of any other fruit in the world, or something like that anyway. And the Chinese apparently make all their vitamin C tablets out of them. Over in Asia they make drinks out of it. You can make marmalade here. We're very, very lucky in this country to have it, because we can't grow oranges and lemons, but we can grow sea buckthorn. Councils are planting them up on the roadsides, so which is pretty good. Supermarkets are planting these ground covering raspberries everywhere. So there we are. That's the Bangor Forest Garden. Started off by Dr. Sarah Cameron. 1998, as part of her master's thesis, the Bangor University gave her the use of half this land, which she planted out in copying the garden design of Robert Hart, and eventually they gave her the rest of the garden. And so it's an agroforestry community project run by the university and the local community. Or it's not run by, but it's run by the local community, and it's well, it's an asset to the university, and the university is an asset to it. So it's very, very good. Some symbiotic relationship, just like the garden.